been so difficult for so many executives to wrap their head around AI? I think it's because the word AI has been used in lieu of many other words, and it has now become, an MIT professor used to call them suitcase words. So the word just has a lot that it's packing right now. And that's why it's become so difficult to understand. Basically, I wanted to create sort of a translation table of sorts so that you can see from the pre-AI world to the post-AI world, the journey that you have to take on and how we're all gonna change. So in order to do that, I have to talk about a change in definitions. New definitions for the new world. I broke these up into three categories. AI as hardware, AI as software, and AI as an operating system. This whole concept of hardware, software, and operating system is very powerful. And it's very easy to understand because people can relate. You know, that's one of the perks of the smartphone revolution. People understand hardware, software, operating system. So first, let's go with AI as hardware. You mentioned that you've had 2 decades to really take on digital, take on data, and be able to do everything that you needed to do in that regard, to become a digital powerhouse. The PC revolution really started in the late 90s, so you could say that its decade was from 2000 to 2010. And Steve Jobs launched the iPhone in the late 2000s, I think it was 2007. So that means that the smartphone decade went from the 2010 to 2020. Hence the 2 decades that you had to digitize and get into digital revenue streams and all the things that we've talked about. So in AI as hardware, a lot of people say that it's the third era of computing. It really is like a new stage. Just like smartphones picked up from where laptops and the computers and PCs left them, the same way this new era, an AI-enabled computing era, will pick up from where the smartphone revolution left us. This is really computers in the cloud. And I think it's multiple functions. But the cloud now works as storage. Many of us have our storage on Google or Apple or Microsoft, and we get 1 or 2 terabytes for X amount of dollars. We now can buy processing power on the cloud. What used to be the Intel inside is now inside the cloud. That type of processing power you can now rent. So you have processing power as a service, and you can go to Amazon Web Services and many others, so that for a given amount of dollars, you can rent machine processing time up in the cloud and run the programs that you need to run. So that essentially is going to cover computers in the cloud. But the most interesting part of this new era is the services on top of that. So once you have all that data in the cloud, they might upsell you on different services, and that's where the AI automation comes in. They might offer you cloud robotics or cloud machine learning, cloud natural language processing. So all of these, I'm just going to call it in general cloud automation, but one of the facets of AI is this evolution of the computer and the smartphone. So that's the first concept within AI as a hardware. There's many more. We're going to study some videos from Michael Rubinstein. He used to be in MIT and then at Google, but basically he's a wizard of computer vision, and computer vision is the new camera. Also, this year we're going to start seeing a lot of the wearables come online in a bigger way for the consumers. The watches, of course, are already there, but now the eyewear, the ear pods, all these are going to start rolling out with significant enhancements. So the connected eyewear and earwear is going to be the new eyes and ears. You've been hearing a lot of IoT and the home. There's different research studies, but it seems that it's going to go to 50 devices per home and billions of devices around the world. So in fact, Wi-Fi 6, which is the new standard of Wi-Fi, the protocol is designed so that it can connect to multiple devices at the same time, which is the difference between Wi-Fi 6 and previous protocols. So Wi-Fi 6 is created for the connected home. And you've heard of Samsung buying a company from one of the leaders of Siri, which was called Viv, and incorporating the voice concept into all of their appliances that are coming out in the near future. Obviously, voice is 7 times faster than text, and voice is gonna be completely changing the landscape of how we interface with computers. Before, writing was the new language, and now voice is the new communication language. And IoT plays a very important role now, because as IoT and sensors get added to all different things, from light bulbs to refrigerators to toaster ovens to your bed, and these homes start humming information, because now you're going to be buzzing with hundreds and hundreds of data points every minute from all these devices. It becomes really interesting that now your homes and your cars and your your offices. Everything from a teapot to a plane to a cargo freighter, they're all going to be generating digital emissions. So digital emissions, sort of a concept, it's going to be very common in the future because everybody's going to be pinging signals. So IoT obviously has Sigfox and LoRa networks. We're going to talk a little bit about that when we go into the IoT modules, but suffice it to say that you should think of IoT as the new nervous system. And the nervous system plays an amazing role in the body. We're going to talk a little bit about that. But Maurice Conti, he's a designer and he has an amazing idea of how a nervous system needs to be used in the AI era. Obviously, we're going to take that and extrapolate that and, how can we create through IoT nervous sensory systems for companies and products and services so that we can get real-time data back about our customers interacting with the product. We're going to learn that really getting the right data is half the battle. And if you have the right data and you're asking the right questions, and you're putting the right sensors, you may have already half of your strategy done because it's gonna lead you to where you need to go. So computer vision is the new camera, connected eyewear are the new eyes, connected earbuds are the new ears, cloud computing and automation is the new computer, IoT is the new nervous system, voice is the new communication language, and data. This is the last component of hardware, but data is the new blood. So what goes to all of your cells, the vascular system of this new entity, AI entity, data is the blood. We've heard data is the new oil, the new energy, the new electricity. There's a lot of analogies out there. In this new AI-enabled version of yourself, data is the blood. And think of that analogy. Think of your companies. And if you have them data starved, you're basically bleeding out. So data is really the lifeblood that's going to power the new AI era.